They've told you for years, maybe not with words, but with stares, silence, or subtle distance, that you were just different. Maybe they said you were too intense, too quiet, too weird. Or maybe they didn't say anything at all, but you felt it. That odd sense of not belonging. Like the room had its own rhythm, and you were the only one dancing to a beat no one else could hear. That's where this story begins. Not in the middle of a victory. Not at the peak of success. But in the small, aching truth that you've spent too long trying to shrink yourself just to fit into spaces that were never built for your shape. Here's the thing they never told you. You weren't meant to be like everyone else. And that's not a problem. It's your gift. But I get it. It doesn't feel like a gift, does it? When you're the one left out of the conversation. When your thoughts are deeper than the surface everyone else seems comfortable floating on. When you see things, patterns, emotions, brokenness, that others ignore. When you're the only one crying during a moment everyone else laughs. Being different can feel like a curse. And if we're being honest, sometimes it hurts. You start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? Why does everything hit me so hard? Why am I always thinking so much? But here's the first truth. Nothing is wrong with you. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to wake people up. Imagine a single candle in a pitch-black room. The candle doesn't ask, why am I not the darkness? It just burns. And in doing so, it changes everything around it. You are that flame. But no one teaches you how to handle that kind of fire. So instead, you grow up learning to dim yourself. You try to talk less, feel less, show less. You water yourself down to be digestible. And slowly, the world convinces you that being like them is the safest path. Dress like them, think like them, post like them, dream like them. But every time you do, it feels like betrayal. Not of the world, but of you. You were never supposed to copy the blueprint. You were supposed to be the blueprint. Think about it. Who ever changed anything by doing exactly what everyone else was doing? It's not the ones who fit in that shape the world. It's the ones who disrupt it. The ones who question the rules. Who cry when others stay silent. Who sit in the storm because they believe there's something worth finding in the pain. That's not weakness. That's depth. That's vision. That's leadership. But before you can lead anyone else, you have to lead yourself out of the belief that your difference is something to apologize for. And that is where most people get stuck. Because embracing your difference doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like isolation. Like standing barefoot on a new road, unsure if it's the right one, because you can't see anyone else walking it. And yet, that's how all great journeys begin. You weren't meant to be part of the noise. You were meant to be the quiet truth in the middle of chaos. The soft voice that says, there's another way. But before you can speak that message, you have to believe it. Believe that your difference is not a flaw, it's an instruction manual to your purpose. The truth is, most people spend their lives trying to be invisible in the very ways they were meant to stand out. They copy what they see. They compare constantly. They aim to belong, because somewhere along the way, they were taught that being part of the crowd meant safety, respect, worth. And yet, how strange that the more you try to be like them, the more hollow everything begins to feel. The smile fades faster. The motivation dries up quicker. You find yourself surrounded, yet somehow alone. Because you're not just trying to fit in, you're abandoning the one thing that could have made your life meaningful, your difference. Let's pause there. This isn't some motivational cliché. This isn't a be yourself poster on the wall of a classroom. This is real. This is life-altering. If you've ever felt like you think too deeply, feel too much, care too strongly, wonder too often, congratulations. You are alive in ways most people never give themselves permission to be. But let's be honest, being fully alive in a world that rewards conformity? That's exhausting. Because when you're different, you don't just see the world differently. You experience pain more deeply too. People may misunderstand you. They might avoid your intensity. They might mistake your silence for weakness, your gentleness for fragility, your questions for rebellion. And after a while, you might start to believe them. You might stop writing the poems, or painting the colors, or asking the questions that once lit you up inside, because somewhere, someone decided you were too much. But you have a choice. You can continue living halfway, forever editing yourself to match the script they handed you. Or you can set the script down and write your own. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it actually means to embrace your difference in a world addicted to sameness. No, it doesn't mean shouting it from rooftops. It doesn't mean becoming loud or dramatic or constantly explaining yourself. It means this: honoring who you are, even when no one claps for it. It means saying no when everyone else says yes. It means not laughing at the joke that doesn't sit right. It means listening to that quiet gut instinct that says, this isn't your path, even when it looks perfect on paper. And yes, sometimes, it means walking away from the crowd so you can finally hear your own voice again. But let me tell you something no one says enough. That voice inside you, it knows things. It remembers dreams you buried. It feels the weight of all the masks you wear. It notices the beauty others overlook. That voice isn't crazy. It's not naive. It's not unrealistic. It's the real you, waiting for permission to breathe. So give yourself that permission. You don't need the world to approve your difference for it to matter. You don't need 1,000 likes or a job title or someone else's praise. What you need is alignment. When your outer life starts to reflect your inner truth, something changes. Not all at once, but gradually, like the first light creeping in after a long night. You start waking up with less dread. You speak with more clarity. You stop asking for directions to a place only you were meant to build. That's the power of embracing your difference. You stop chasing belonging and start becoming. Let's take this from feeling to action. Because knowing you're different is only the beginning. Choosing to live from that place, that's the breakthrough. So here's the question that matters now. What does a life aligned with who you really are actually look like? First, it looks slower. Not because you're lazy or behind, but because you're finally moving at the speed of truth, not pressure. You stop running just to keep up. You start walking toward what actually matters. That might mean saying no to things you once said yes to, relationships, routines, roles you've outgrown. Not because you're better than them, but because they no longer fit your soul. It means choosing meaning over noise, depth over appearance, and stillness over constant striving. It means making peace with being misunderstood. That's a tough one, isn't it? But if your goal is to be understood by everyone, you'll always have to shrink to fit their expectations. And shrinking doesn't make you safer. It just makes you smaller than you were born to be. So let's make this practical. Here's what embracing your difference can look like this week. 1. Start saying what you really mean. That text you type and retype, send it with truth. That opinion you hold back in a room full of noise, speak it gently, but don't silence it. 2. Stop apologizing for your sensitivity. Feeling deeply is not weakness, it's evidence you're paying attention to life. 3. Write down one thing you've always loved but abandoned to fit in. Then do one small thing this week to reconnect with it. A sketch, a walk, a prayer, a question, a page. 4. Get quiet. Turn off the noise. Just for 15 minutes. Sit with yourself. Ask, what do I know to be true, but I've been afraid to live like it? You might be surprised at what answers rise up when you finally listen. And finally, 5. Give yourself permission to be seen. Not as a performance. Not as a version. As you. Let someone in. Let someone love the real parts. Let the world witness the you that doesn't follow the script. Because here's the truth most people never hear. You don't have to become someone else to be worthy. You just have to become someone you recognize again. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your clarity, your honesty, your weirdness, your wonder, your wild, unpolished, unfiltered, brilliant truth. You weren't meant to be like everyone else. That ache inside you, that deep sense that there's something more, that's not a flaw. It's a signal. You were made to carve a different path, to write a different song, to speak a truth others are still too afraid to say. And maybe just maybe, that's your gift. Different isn't broken. It's the beginning of becoming.